One, let me talk about securitization first. The issue of securitization came on board in the year 2023, the first time it came anywhere in our meetings. And I want to make it very clear so that we have clarity on this issue. That meeting had all the decision makers around the finances of our country, including the CS National Treasury there, and including the PS who is still there now. And I want to confirm to Kenyans, in the meeting I was, we all declined this issue of securitization, because it was common knowledge to all of us that any money you borrow through securitization is a debt, and therefore cannot be treated separately as anything different. And therefore, I think that suffices. I was there, we could not. Secondly, I would request that we all check the reports that came out of the Parliamentary Budget Office in the last 3 years. And you check our stand on debt. And you check our stand on the things I'm talking about. And you see consistency in what we stand for. And even beyond me, even my seniors then, every time they could speak, no one was speaking in terms of borrowing. Everyone was speaking in terms of lowering our appetite for debt. But when it comes to action, there is something different. The last thing, when you are serving in a capacity that I was serving before, just as you serve in any other capacity around government, because as you understand, when in the positions of departmental committees and other committees like the one I was, you work very closely with the National Treasury and the government of that time. There is something called, I would call it collective responsibility. And this is what works politically. In politics, you leave your seniors to talk about all the good things. Because even me as an MP, my CDF chairman leaves me to say all the good things about the work you are doing. And then, do I need to explain further? I think you've got it. So, I want you to check all those, because many times I see people saying, hey, kwani wanaongea saa hii? It's because of those reasons. Basically, collective responsibility then permitted, you have to let, I mean, you are not the head of government. You are just some chairman somewhere there. So, we had to do that time. And I'm glad, and I'm sure Bogo, you are glad, that I've been there and I'm now here. Because at least now I can talk to you freely without having any issue of collective responsibility. And I am glad for this opportunity also, because it helps me to also inform Kenyans in an area I have been and I know. And I don't think it can get better than that. That it is the chef who is telling you about the menu and about the recipe. Bwana Otieno from Nation, I agree with you entirely. The government comes to the market, they borrow. This year they will likely borrow close to $1 trillion in the domestic market. Basically, that is money that could have gone to this industry and the other to enhance their production. So that money is no longer available to them because the government has taken it. Because as a banker, bankers choose the low risk, high return. Now, that is doing a lot of harm. Beyond crowding out, these are the issue of pending bills, is hurting the same banks that are majorly buying the government instruments. Because if you look at the NPLs in our commercial banking sector, you realize they are climbing up. So banks think one of their problems is being solved, yet a bigger one is being created on the side. Because you deny money to the private sector, the private sector denies you money as banks. Because if you give me money, for example, to build this hotel as a bank, and I build it up to the point of just furnishing, and I come to you and tell you, top up my loan, I furnish the hotel. And as the bank, you say, no, the government is here, they want money. You may default, the government can't. So you deny me money. You give this money to government. So all the money I had borrowed from you to put up the structure, then I will not be able to pay you. So that is booked in the books of the banks, commercial banks, as an NPL. So on this one side, the commercial banks think they are taking advantage of the high appetite of borrowing locally, but on the other side, it is hurting them directly through NPLs, and especially when private sector cannot pay. But then you asked, where do we get money from? And I'll ask you, money for what? This is the reason. We have a budget of 4.2 trillion. Okay, what is fundamental between this year and last year, for example? If we have an increase of 200 billion, what is this so fundamental that we are doing this year that we are not doing last year, that we have added a budget of 200 billion? I want just to point one thing. Why? Some of the money we are borrowing, Kenya doesn't actually not need it. Here they are experts in the economy. Go and check the budget that we are implementing today, and you realize Kenya has budgeted over 50 billion Kenya shillings for political management. Those who are here, they know what I mean, political management. The money you see being dished out is not grown. It comes from your pocket. And I want you to go check. One of the parameters I saw Kenya was to do last year was to do away with confidential fund. Go check how much money it is in all the areas that confidential fund is. And you realize the money we borrowed for Talanta Stadium, we have also budgeted an equivalent money just for political management. Political management. I'm being diplomatic. Ligan talked about privatization of Kenya Pipeline. There is something I want to put into perspective without going into details. The former president of Zambia was the late Edgar Lungu. The current president is called Hakainde Hichilema. Both two gentlemen are products of privatization. The money they ended up having to be able to marshal a presidential bid and both of them becoming presidents, they are products of privatization. One acted as a lawyer for many transactions. Go check who was a lawyer between the two. The other one used to work for the Big Four and ended up as a TA, transaction advisor. So privatizations are good when they are done without vested interest. When Kenya divests from any assets, it's good. But the problem with Kenya today is that there is a trust deficit. If you ask me, because I am glad to have had some experience in the capital markets. The stock market in Kenya may appear bullish now. Bullish because shares are going up. But companies are still grossly undervalued. Any bank that is listed in Kenya is worth less than a bank that is not listed, of equivalent profitability, of equivalent assets, of equivalent everything. Because the market is not very ripe to value companies upwards. Were it not for the trust deficit, the best route would have been to arrange for a strategic investor. Unfortunately, we may arrange for a strategic investor and the person could be the one next to your table when you are discussing it. So privatization wholesomely is good, but we have to remove vested interest. And the best way to do it is this way. Whatever you value that company, it's okay. Value it even at 1 shilling. But sell all the companies to local individuals who are Kenyans. Then from there, you cut off all the plans of any mysterious person. When you say yes, we are privatizing this company, but we have no money to allocate companies or foreigners. We have only money to allocate verifiable Kenyans as individual shareholders. And then you put a cap that you can only invest not more than 1 million shillings in this offering. Then from there, utasikia hiyo, we postpone, we do this, then namna hiyo. Asante.